Lior. Thanks for joining us today. Today's topic is retrospectives. How do you enhance your retrospectives so they don't become stale? I don't know about you guys on the call right now, but I know for myself, asking the same old what went well, what didn't go well, kind of gets a little old after a while, and the teams tend to only focus on things like processes and tools. And I want to find out how we can get to a place where we're actually talking about things that are meaningful, that are valuable, that we're not always addressing the same issues that come up. So I'm going to just toss it over to Ben, who I know has a few prompts that he uses. And I'm curious to see also, Lior and Lucci, what you might have used in the past to get people talking about things that aren't the same thing every sprint.
Yeah, thanks, Alana. This is a good example of my learning journey, because I've certainly come a long way when it comes to retrospectives. And actually, this is something that I have incorporated relatively recently, so like 6 to 12 months. What I found is that if we take a 4-quadrant perspective to running our retrospectives, or at least prompting insights on our retrospectives, I've kind of managed to get a broader perspective of things that the team then reflect on. So as you said, Alana, like a lot of teams tend to focus on one of two things, and that tends to be the right-hand side. It tends to be, oh, our product is really bad, or our product is really good, or we didn't complete our sprint, or we did complete our sprint, or we had a bug, or we didn't have a bug, or I really hate this tool, it's so annoying. And a lot of teams focus on that because it's pretty objective, and it gathers a lot of interest, but it also ignores the left-hand side, and quite often that can be the more sensitive and challenging side of insights, if you like, when we ask the team. So what I tend to do is when I open a retrospective and we're generating insights, things that worked well or things that didn't work so well is still fine. But what I tend to do is I tend to ask people to think about how they feel about things. So the upper left, how their relationships are within the team, how their relationships are between teams and with their stakeholders and product owners. So that's the lower left. Upper right, I ask them to reflect on their product delivery. Is it good, bad, quick? And then obviously the one that a lot of people jump to anyway, which is the lower right, which is how are your systems and processes and tools? And what I found is that kind of opens up people's thinking. So those people who were just thinking about, God, isn't this Git integration annoying, tend to start to think about, their relationships and other things like that. I don't know whether Leo or Lucci, whether you've got any kind of experience or counterpoints to that.
One thing that we help people with, like a very concrete tool, which is sometimes people struggle to say what they are thinking because maybe it is like they're going to say something which may hurt the other person, or it won't be so constructive. So as they don't know how to say that in another way, they don't say anything. So what we try to do is, okay, let's find a way where you can say your truth in a way that is honest and with respect. So when people have that in mind, it is easier for them to say what they were thinking, but in a way that is constructive. And that helps people to be more open to understand, okay, this is the feedback that we are getting. Maybe we can do something different. And at the same time to think this, what can we do differently like in the future? Because that will also help, like, I don't know, other projects or sprints, no? It's like a best practice that you can then evolve within time.
Well, no, just to Lucci's point, I think there was a Norm Kurth. He was an early kind of retrospector in the Agile circuit, if you like, and he wrote what's called the Retrospective Prime Directive, and it's about safety, and it's actually suggested that people should read that at the start of every retrospective. I can't cite it verbatim, but essentially it says we believe that everyone is here, they've done their best, we're here to learn and adapt and improve, and that it's not about judgment. That is another tool actually, Lucci, that you can use to then create that safety where people can speak their truth.
So my other question to you is, I love this idea of like those specific questions you talked about, those prompts of what are your relationships like? What are your relationships with other teams? I think those are things that people don't often think when they're in a retrospective, they just think about, oh, what process do we need to fix, or what tool isn't working for us, or what stories didn't we finish. And I love this idea of prompting people to think about your relationship with your team, with other teams, the relationship to the systems that you're in. And I'm curious, like, could you give us some examples that might show where like the light bulb went off for some people in a retro? For you, like, was it that they realized, oh, you know, we really need to work on a relationship with our product support team, or we really need to work on a relationship with, say, I don't know, onboarding? Like I'm curious to see how this actually plays out in the world that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk generally because I think it's happened so many times that that I'm going to do that as a pattern. But like, when you acknowledge the fact that it's okay to talk about relationships and it's okay to talk about feelings, people are kind of shocked. It's like, we're here to do business, right? We're here to ship products. We're here to write software. And then someone turns up and says, it's okay to say you didn't like what someone did. And that kind of blows people's minds. It's like, we're in a professional setting. I'm allowed to say that I didn't like something. I'm allowed to say that I didn't like something personal, or someone did something that annoyed me. And you see that go off. And that's, you know, it's a very powerful thing. And I just as an extension to that, like, one thing that emphasizes those points. So I said, like, I use the 4-quadrant prompts as a vocal kind of think about these things, but also I use templates as well, and I use boards. So we use Miro a lot, and I'll set up a 4-quadrant board, and I'll say, okay, this is where these post-its go, this, and then we'll do maybe 5 minutes of generation, and it becomes very clear if people are still not using those perspectives as part of the retrospective, because all the sticky notes are on the right hand side. So then we can have another 5 minutes and say, okay, we're going to constrain your insights now to the lower left corner. I want you to think about things that went well with regard to relationships and things that didn't go so well. And over time, when you run the same retrospective with the same teams, you'll see that people get more comfortable with populating the whole board or taking all 4 perspectives from the get-go. So it becomes a much more even spread. So, but my very specific tip there is also use a board to show, are they, even though you've prompted, are people using those 4 perspectives to generate insights? Because if all your post-it notes are in one quadrant, then maybe, you know, we've got to do some work about, you know, safety, like Lucci says, like creating some safety so that they feel able to use the left-hand side perspectives and to post-its on the left-hand side.
I love the idea of constraining to one part of the perspective. Like, we're only going to talk about relationships in this one. Let's like just have it out and discuss what, you know, what we're feeling and thinking. And I think that absolutely normalizes it. And I've seen it work really well for teams. Then they get to have conversations that wouldn't have happened otherwise, and you find out other people felt the same way.
Yeah, I've not tried this yet, but maybe you could even rotate quadrants sprint by sprint. So you could do one whole, you know, one sprint, I'm just going to do upper left retrospective. Next sprint, I'm going to move to lower left, and you could rotate around, see whether that works for your team, or, you know, any number of ways to prompt using those lenses and those quadrants.
That's very cool.
And while having those conversations, I also think that using like the first language, like I think, like, this is how I feel, like owning the opinion, no, like that helps a lot. Instead of saying, I don't know, they didn't, I don't know, comply with my expectations. It says, I don't feel that my expectations have been met because maybe I haven't been clear about that. It's a small shift that helps to have those conversations in a like more honest and in this healthy way.
Yeah, and the 4 quadrants ensure that you're looking at the problem from a complete perspective. So from the upper left, we're making sure that I feel okay, or that people feel okay. And in the lower left, we're making sure the relationships are healthy. And on the upper right, we're saying, well, you know, is the impact or the quality that we want to do, is it there? And on the lower right, we're looking at our infrastructure, our environment, things like that. And the thing to remember is, coming out of every retrospective, make sure that your improvement items are in an improvement backlog You've chosen what you're going to take to the next sprint. You've added a hypothesis regarding what you think the impact of those improvement items are going to be, and then make sure to measure and check at the end of the sprint so you can see whether or not you achieve them.
And that sounds like another whole video in itself, Leo. So good insights there. I'm sure we'll follow up with that.
I like that. I think it'll be how to hold people accountable to the decisions they make. Right? All right, everyone. Thank you so much, Ben, Leo, Lucci. Thank you. This has been really insightful. For those of you watching, please let us know what you think in the comments below. If you have any other thoughts, we'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.